Good morning, beautiful. It's Joe again, and it is now 3 months of alternate day fasting in total. Uh, this last week has been a bad week for me. I'm just not an emotional person generally, and my level of emotional tends to just be lack of energy and lack of oomph. It is my mom's death day anniversary at the end of this month, and for the last week, I've just struggled to stay out of a funk. It has affected my ability to get out there and work out and walk, and I'm hoping that the next 2 weeks or longer don't continue to be this way. It's not a good time, but I don't usually linger and dwell on things, and especially to have it just be messing with me for a month, that's not going to be okay for me. Uh, so I just gave myself this week off between work days and the days I just had no energy and no oomph. I just gave myself this week from midweek last week to now ish of no walks, except for walking my gizmo. I did get some yoga in yesterday. Some friends came over and we did a light round of yoga. It's been almost 2 months since I did any kind of decent yoga. It has not been good for me to be not doing it, but I don't do it without a buddy well. So I'm really glad they started coming over. It's supposed to come over again tomorrow. The plan is hopefully like Tuesdays and Thursdays, twice a week. So if that keeps going, that will help a lot. They do a little lower key than I'm used to, but none of the moves I'm unfamiliar with, and a little more meditative. So that's very calming and good for your personality and your moods. So hopefully that'll help a lot. It was my 4 week weigh in, measure in. I drove up this morning to the clinic so I could use their clinic scales so I could compare, because every scale I get near says a drastically different number, not just a little bit different, not just a pound or two, 10 and 15 pounds different. I don't friggin' know what I weigh. I know what my home scale said when I started. I know what my other newer scale says. I know what the wellness center scale said, and now I know what the clinic scale says. Now, I was fully dressed in the same workout wear that I was wearing for my measurements and full body pictures. So that adds a pound or something, but that doesn't factor in because I know I've lost more since this started. Since my last 4 week weigh in, I've lost more. But the clinic scales say 186, which is still not horrific. And one of the things I want to do is call back up there and see if they can look at my numbers from when I was having a little lump on my abdomen, which was just really a lipoma, but I really needed to hear somebody official say that. But you know, they always weigh you, take your temp, everything like that. And I want to see what they said when I went for that little checkup just a few months ago. So that was maybe 4 months ago, 5 at the most. And since I've been doing the ADF for 3 months, that's a pretty close beginning number. So I'm going to see if I can't get that number, because 186 at the clinic scale today, my home scale said 166.6. So 20-pound difference between my home scale and the clinic. I'm back, and just a quick FYI, I didn't specify in the previous video I was shooting. So my home scale said 166.6, which based on my home scale measurements would mean that I have lost about 37.4 pounds in the last 3 months. But, you know, given how drastically it's different, I know that it's something like that. Just don't know if 166 is even remotely near where I'm at, because the clinic scale says like 20 pounds heavier than that. I mean, fudge. I don't know. However, the body measurements look pretty good. So, my bust was at 42 inches, which is 3 inches lost since the last 3 months. My underbust chest measurement was 36 and about 3/4 inches, which means 1 and 3/4 lost since the beginning. Which my boobs haven't gone anywhere. That's all back fat. That's all flab and back fat. So almost 2 inches from the underbust, 3 inches from the bust. The waist was at 35.5 inches, which is 4.5 inches lost since the beginning. The hips, 47.75 now, which is 5.25 lost since the beginning. Now, last time I measured in, I said I was at 5.5 inches lost, and that's just because I can't math, because that was 4.5 inches at that time if I used a calculator when my brain doesn't work. Just saying. Upper arms. I have lost 1 inch off my upper arms on both sides. I have lost 3/4 of an inch and a little over 1/2 an inch off of the forearm even. Then my thighs and my calves. I have lost 1 inch and 3/4 of an inch off of my calves, and I have lost 2.5 inches off of one thigh and 1.5 inches off of the other thigh. It's a pretty big variance for me, but 1 inch is one thigh is a whole inch bigger than the other. Best you can get the numbers by yourself, you know, and that's a factor, because when I'm reaching and trying to make sure I've got it at the widest point, but you want to reach it at an accurate point for your body part, and I'm no expert at that, and doing it alone is always harder. One of the reasons I do it on the camera is so that I can look in the screen and see if I'm close to even. This week I did start trying to drink some bubbly waters. I talked about maybe doing that this last week, and I did get some, and I got another one a girlfriend gave me to try that her husband got and did not like, but I'm looking at the ingredients, and I don't think it's gonna ruin my fast, so I might start dipping my toe in the water on those too. The first one I tried was Pellegrino sparkling water, which is basically just a carbonated mineral water. No sugar, no additives, no nothing like that. It's water with minerals in it and carbonation. I did not love it. I need some kind of flavor. I mean, the infused flavor is basically supposed to be where they just like steam the fruits, and then the flavor infuses into the water without getting any kind of calorie nutrition content. It's just flavor. Damned if I know how that works, but supposedly that should not ruin my fast. I've got some more coming in the mail from that brand Bubbly, but she gave me a couple that I'm going to try today, and we will see, because it's a caffeinated bubbly water that is cherry coffee flavor. So it's infused with cherry coffee flavor. It has no sweeteners, no calories, no fruit content, even though it's got a cherry flavoring in it that's a natural flavoring. But today is a food day, so I feel safe trying it either way. But if it works out, that may be something I drink on my fasting days, because the carbonation just gives you that sensation of being fuller, even though it is just water. In other news, my new Fitbit Versa came in. Now, this was a hilarious story of epic bad timing, because not even 2 weeks, I'd say it was probably about a week and a half after I got my Fitbit Inspire HR I get a notification and my coworker calls me and she says, "Hey, the company's doing another wellness challenge, and on this one, we can get a Fitbit HR Inspire for free, or a half price or deeply discounted Fitbit Versa 2 for like $80." Uh, and I didn't say anything to her at first. I was just like, "Wow, that's great, awesome." I didn't tell her I literally just bought one. I did go ahead and go for the challenge, and it's a really doable one with my personal schedule and walking and what I do, because I have to walk 5 miles in 2 weeks. Well, I walk 5 miles like every day, so that's not a problem. Uh, so I just have to screenshot and prove that I've walked the miles, and then they'll deduct it out of my paycheck. But yes, my new Versa 2 is here. I'm getting used to. I do like the bigger screen. I am wearing it further down on my wrist. For this one, I think that'll fit better. I did like the other one higher on my wrist here. I was starting to get a bit of a tan line. I don't know if you can see it. You can definitely see the dent in my arm where I constantly had it on. So yeah, in other news, I now have a extra Fitbit. Might see if a friend of mine wants to buy it off me discounted, so I at least just don't have it floating around, or maybe I'll just tuck it in the drawer, turn it off, power it up, and, make sure it's good, and keep it as a backup in case this one breaks, goes out, whatever. But yeah, in hilarious timing news, not probably about a week and a half after I got that Fitbit, I could have got a free one. I definitely need to get right with my walks, and I can't, mind over matter. Mind over matter. I'm not going to let this ruin everything. But, a couple of years now, since I lost my mom very unexpectedly, and that can play havoc with your whole system. I've always sympathized with people who are more emotionally driven. I have a sibling who is very emotional, but I'm not that person, and I can't empathize as much because it's outside of my experience. But this has definitely impacted me in a way that very few things do. I don't think there was anything else particular this week. Um, the food thing is pretty leveled out now. I'm still breaking my fast with the bone broth. In fact, it's almost time to get some bone broth, boil a couple of eggs, and then head for work. So you have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you soon.